I'm Adam Liaw and welcome to Easy Entertaining with the Cook-Up, where we help you be the hosts with the most. Stop quietly panicking in the kitchen because we have the menu sorted. And on that menu tonight, prawn and lemon guaccetto, porchetto arrosto con pinzimonio, and apple and ricotta frittelle. Let's meet our guests. Executive chef and owner of Pilu at Freshwater, Giovanni Pilu, started cooking at age 14 in Sardinia. He remembers foraging for wild asparagus and making frittatas for afternoon tea. Sharing food is the Sardinian way of life, and we are thrilled to share with him tonight. Hello, Giovanni.
Hello, Adam. Great to be back.
For the Italian pronunciations of all of
You are
those
doing much better than my English. Don't worry. You're doing well.
Julia Busta Nishimura is an author and cook whose work celebrates simple ingredients and seasonal produce. Her recipes draw on her Maltese heritage, Japanese family, and her time in Tuscany. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you. So good to be
true
here.
melting pot.
A true melting pot, indeed.
What is it that, I guess, excites you about food the most?
I feel like it's one of those things that when you think you kind of know what you're doing, you're always learning. There's always, new recipes, new ingredients, new things to cook and learn. And I think it's one of those lifelong things that you never stop learning from.
Yeah. Giovanni, you've been cooking a while now. Pilu is 20 years old. You've got 2 chef hats. You're kind of at the top of the game. Are you still learning?
Always. Yeah, I think the time that you get to a point where I know everything, I think you have to hand the keys back. That's it, I'm done.
It's never ending, isn't it?
Never
There's always
ending.
something
so exciting.
to know.
Yeah,
It's wonderful. A tavola non si vecchia. Tonight's easy entertaining feast is the Italian table. I think we've established that I do not speak Italian. So if I say a tavola non si vecchia, what does that mean?
It means at the table you don't grow old.
Yeah.
So
It's a beautiful saying.
You're forever young at the
Forever
table.
young.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Is that really the Italian way of looking at food as a thing that can stop you from growing old?
I mean,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely. 100%. I mean, is it only Italian though? Isn't it like every culture now that brings food to the table and you sit together and you enjoy great food and great laughs and stories? That's it, right? Yeah, it can't get better than that.
Living.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my dish for the Italian table is going to be a prawn and lemon guazzetto. I really struggle with the double Z pronunciation in Italian. Like, if you were to say prawn and lemon guazzetto properly, can either of you please help me out with this?
Prawn and lemon guazzetto.
Guazzetto.
You gotta z.
Okay.
You gotta give the z.
Follow-up question, what is it?
It's a fish. It's pretty much a fish stew or a fish soup, and Italy being, like a coastal kind of nation, peninsula. It got, guazzettos all over the place. And
Different
then
names.
there's caciucco, cassola, zuppa di pesce. There is so many different ways of calling it, but essentially it's what,
Thankfully, for me, a lot easier to make than to pronounce. I'm doing mine just prawns and a bit of chili and lemon. So a fair amount of olive oil going in. I'm going to fry some chili and some garlic that I've just bruised. So I'm going to throw in some fennel seeds.
Oh, nice.
Give that a little stir, just to start releasing some of that flavour there. Now, with my prawns themselves, I'm going to peel them. It's probably more common to do this whole, but I just like a butterflied prawn. And I've got the heads and the shells separated, but I'm going to keep them because one thing, obviously, easy to eat without the shells on there, but you don't want to lose that flavour because there's a huge amount of flavour in the shells there. So
Especially in the head, right?
Yeah. I could use the shells as well, but I'm just using the heads for this only because I'm going to take these back out again.
Yeah.
So just the heads in there and I'll fry that off and start to get some flavour on them there. I'll even just partially cover that just to save myself some aggravation. Giovanni, what's something about Italian food that you think people in Australia don't quite get?
I think still people struggle with the simplicity of Italian food. Like it's easier said than done, right? That when you cook Italian, you really have to stick with simple.
Okay.
I think, when you are at the point that I'm going to add something else to it to elevate the flavor, to bulk it up a little bit, or, you need to stop, because otherwise it becomes, too complicated. And that's not Italian food, is it?
No, so simple.
I completely agree with that, but it also, to me, it sounds like exactly the kind of thing that I always say about Chinese food. My grandma always used to say that Chinese food and Italian food are kind of the same.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm always like, stop adding every Asian ingredient that you know into every dish that you think is Chinese, because it's just making it far too complicated. And it sounds like you're feeling the same thing about Italian food.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's starting to get quite dark, so I'm going to throw in my wine now. And I want to make sure I'm cooking the wine sort of, to me that's, a big whiff of wine.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that that's cooking until it's not so winey.
Yeah. Evaporating.
Julia, you lived in Tuscany.
Yes.
Is that your favourite of the Italian regional cuisines?
Oh, gosh. I feel like it's an impossible, question, because I think every region, not only every region, but every village, every town has something unique and something so special. So I feel like every time I go, and I go to a different place, like I just went to Puglia for the first time, and, you experience something so different and you fall in love with, a new region or a new city or a new village. And so, it's probably the cooking I'm most familiar with because I lived there, but I feel like all the regions are really incredible.
If there was one dish that you have enjoyed in Italy that you would love to have better access to here in Australia, what would that be? Or are we pretty good here?
We were talking about tiella, the pugliese, like it's a mussel, rice, potato dish. And, the fishmonger opens the mussels for you at the fishmonger for this dish specifically, which you just won't. I can't imagine going to my fishmonger and asking them to open up a kilo of mussels for me. But I think we're very lucky here in Australia with access to ingredients and Italian chefs,
I must say, Julia, you love talking about food, but when you talk about Italian food, your eyes really light up, and it's really lovely to see, to be honest. So because I put the shells in there, you can see how different that is to just sort of a bit of garlic and some wine. What I will now put in is some tomato passata to form kind of the basis of our stew in some ways. And I find I tend to use, I'm going to put some regular cherry tomatoes in there as well, but I always like to add a little bit of passata just because I feel it helps with the colour. These prawns I'm going to put into a bowl, back in there after I've butterflied them. And, excuse me, I'm going to put a little bit of baking soda in there.
Okay, then.
And that is... that's a Chinese thing.
What's this for, Adam?
It's actually going to make the prawns really nice and bouncy and springy. Just that little bit of alkalinity stops it from tightening up too much. So rather than, being tough, it's just nice and springy.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
So now, some cherry tomatoes. I'm going to halve a few of them, but for the most part, I'm going to keep them whole. I'm kind of preparing the base of everything here because once those prawns go in, essentially we're done. That's a minute or two.
Yeah.
By the time it gets to our Italian table, it will continue to cook in the pot. So if you cook it just right on the stove, it'll be overcooked by the time it gets to the table.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Those going in, I'll give these a minute in there. Giovanni, you've had such a huge influence on Italian cooking in Australia. Like, I go to restaurants around the country and I'll see something on the menu and I go, that guy's worked with Giovanni. How does it feel to kind of...
Oh, it does. It makes my day, like all these guys that, they work for us and now they're spreading this, love for Sardinian cuisine or Italian and then Sardinian, And it's been, quite amazing because when I first came here, in '92, trust me, there was nothing like this, and then Sydney and Australia in general, it's gone to the next level with everything, I think you can cook, good regional Italian food, no matter where you are, as long as you respect, the seasonality, the quality of the ingredients, which Australia has so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very pleasing.
All right. Prawns have gone in. The heat is still in the pan there. You can even see, just as the prawns have gone in, that they're starting to change. Mine is going to be quite a thick, I guess, guazzetto.
Guazzetto, very good.
Getting better.
You're getting much better.
But I'm going to season that now with a bit more pepper and a bit more salt. One more second, and I've sliced up some lemon here. So prawns, I can see that they're just undercooked in the center, which is exactly where I want to stop the heat here. I'll stir through those lemon slices, a bit of a squeeze of lemon as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yum.
Yeah.
And I'll finish that with quite a lot of parsley. Salt, pepper, another little drizzle of olive oil, and that is a prawn and lemon guazzetto. We will eat my guazzetto later, but before we do that, let's talk about some Italian entertaining tips. Tips for the Italian table. They don't have to be Italian. They can just be general tips. I'm not going to give you an Italian tip here. Giovanni, you obviously have a very successful restaurant. Do you like to entertain at home as well?
You know, I always like to cook. I grew up with one pot feeds the family kind of thing, you know, because my mom, like, it was 6 of us, and it was easy just to do one dish and put it in the middle of the table with bread or whatever. And that is what, you know, I think you got to make your life easier at home, man, because otherwise you end up, you know, stressing out and, you know, and not enjoying the, you know, the company of your friends, you know. So I'm a big fan of, you know, one big, you know, dish in the middle to share, you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Julia?
I mean, I like to take the pressure off when people first come, so I often will have some snacks for when they arrive, because I feel like once they've got a drink and a little snack, I can kind of take a deep breath and then just do my thing in the kitchen.
Because sometimes you're like, oh, people are going to be hungry, I need to rush to get food out. But if everyone's there already having a good time, you're like, OK, I can take my time.
And then it becomes more of a social thing where, like, you're cooking and talking and people are snacking on something.
Great. My tip would be, if you're planning your menu and you weren't doing a one pot, just plan it around the equipment that you have. You know, if you are doing 3 things that need to go in the oven, then unless you've got 3 ovens, you're in real trouble.
Exactly.
You know, we had a friend around on the weekend and he was making pasta on the stove. It was great, like interactive, the kids were rolling pasta, and then I just cooked some steaks on the barbecue, and it all comes together into a nice meal. But if we were trying to do everything on the barbecue or everything on the stove, would have been trouble. So plan it out by the equipment that you have.
Yeah.
Good tip.
Exactly.
Thank you for your tips. After the break, more food from Italy done brilliantly by Giovanni and Giulia. Ciao and welcome back to Easy Entertaining with the Cook-Up. We've set the Italian table and would love you to join in the fun. Chef Giovanni Pilu and cook Giulia Busuttil Nishimura are busy cooking. Giulia, what are you making?
Apple and ricotta frittelle.
Wow. And Giovanni?
Porcetta arrosto with pinzimonio.
Love a suckling pig. Porchetto arrosto. Porchetto arrosto. So roast suckling pig, essentially.
Yes.
Wow.
Definitely.
And this is one of the real specialties at Pilu Freshwater.
Pilu Freshwater is the most popular dish. We've had this on the menu for 19 years.
Wow.
And if I take it out of the menu, someone will kill me. So I can't take it out of the menu.
It is a delicious dish, and suckling pig is one of my absolute favourites. How do you prepare it?
So what I'm doing now, Adam, is basically covering the skin. So you put a little bit of oil, can be vegetable oil, to rub on the skin, and then lots and lots of cooking salt. So the idea of this process is that when it slow cooks, which is the first part of the cooking, takes around the 3-hour mark on a low temperature. To draw as much moisture as you can from the skin, because then the second part of the cooking, which is a much hotter oven, you hope that the skin crisps up, because that's what you want, right?
And so do you knock the salt off that for the second part of cooking?
So the second part of the cooking, we wipe thoroughly the salt off, and then we just, rest it a bit, and then we put it back in, crank the oven up, and then you'll see it becomes like a crust.
Cannot wait for this.
Yes, definitely.
I could tell you were grating lemon from all the way over there. It's just like as soon as you grate it, the smell comes up.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
So what is happening?
We are making essentially a batter or a dough for the fritelle, which are these beautiful, they're really like donuts.
Great.
But they're not yeasted. I mean, you can find yeasted ones, but these ones just leavened with self-raising flour.
Great.
So it's really quick,
Yep.
really simple. So we've just got ricotta, lemon, eggs, and I'm going to put in some sugar. Mm-hmm. That's going to get whisked up, and then I'm flavouring it with some sultanas, but you could use like raisins or currants.
Lovely.
Or leave them out if you don't like dried fruit.
And a bit of grated apple there, I see.
Some apple, which is going to, once it cooks, is going to be really nice and moist and sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is whisked up. I'm going to add
just grated apple.
Yeah, just grated apple
Fantastic.
going in, some sultanas, and you could even soak these in the masala or rum, or even some orange juice.
Yes. I actually have always loved soaking sultanas in orange blossom water.
Ooh,
they really pick up
that's delicious.
the aroma of it.
A little bit of the masala and some vanilla.
Wonderful. These are all of my favourite things all coming together. There's no way that this can taste anything other than delicious.
And it looks quite like a wet batter, but as soon as we put in the flour, I'm going to change to just a spatula.
Sure. And the ricotta, you don't need that to be like separated. Chunks is fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get really finicky about it, but
Let's not.
also there's no need.
Anything finicky is out of my league.
And we don't want to overmix this now. We want to kind of be a little bit more gentle.
When would you eat this in Italy?
So usually this is around time of Carnivale, so January, sometimes February, and after Christmas, after New Year's, the eating kind of begins again, and you're walking down the streets and you can kind of smell all of these fried sweets and treats
Amazing.
kind of being made.
This could be like a good Christmas thing for us here, you know. That I can see this because it's almost kind of the things that you might put into a Christmas cake with the spices and the rum and masala and the dried fruits, but in donut form.
In donut form.
I love it.
Win-win.
Giovanni,
Adam,
what is
pinzimonio?
pinzimonio?
Pinzimonio is basically a selection of raw vegetables and raw leaves of, radicchio, lettuce, celery, anything that is crunchy and, it kind of balances the richness of the pork or the roast meat, but most popular with pork.
I love that you're peeling the celery like this because I do this for stir frying and people think I'm weird for doing it this way, but it takes these kind of long strings out and it makes it so much nicer.
You can't eat this. You can't eat it. And celery can be a really nice raw vegetable, but you need to peel it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not nice anymore.
Beautiful.
So just like that.
So you've got fennel, you've got carrots. That's what they're called, right? Bit of radicchio.
Yep.
Okay.
Like anything crunchy, a little bit bitter.
Yeah.
Anything that, like I said, takes away from, the richness, counterbalances the richness of the pork.
The suckling pig is in the oven. Now, the one thing that I guess I notice and people will want to know is there's no actual flavouring on that, right? You've just put salt and oil, essentially.
And that's it.
That's it. You don't need to do anything.
What I'm going to do after when I cut it is maybe put a couple of rosemary sprigs, but pork.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Sure.
Like, what can you do to it? Salt is what loves that kind of,
I used to, even when I was making my roast pork belly, sometimes in Chinese cooking it's marinated with, the skin side is marinated with pepper, garlic, sometimes preserved bean curd, that kind of thing. These days, I'm just salt and that's it.
That's it, because pork doesn't need a lot, Okay,
and so this is that's just olive oil and
olive
lemon.
oil and lemon. Again, lemon, it really freshens the whole thing up, right?
Yeah.
And then you emulsify all that with a little bit of salt, and then you just go like that.
Wow. And that's it.
That's it. That's pinzimonio. Yeah.
My goodness.
Often is like literally just some lettuce leaves. I've seen it in a glass, just standing up like that, and you eat them raw. Sometimes I've seen tomatoes. I've seen things that they. and always raw, right?
Yeah.
And then basically this one, you know.
I think being able to cook simply like this is really a matter of confidence, because like I'm confident with Chinese food, and I will cook Chinese food like this.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. Don't need too many ingredients.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Italian food, I find, what would make this more Italian?
Yeah. This is it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is it.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Julia, it's quite a thick dough, essentially. It's not even a batter.
No, it's not very loose at all. And you do want that because you want to use a spoon to kind of drop it in.
Got it.
And they're going to be a little bit irregular. They don't need to be, a round donut. So that's the kind of beauty of it. They're very rustic, which we love.
Yes.
Especially, home cooking, I think we really don't, food in general doesn't need to be complicated. And I think some of the best dishes are the ones that are really simple.
Sure.
So these just need to fry off now, and then we're going to roll it in some sugar, which is...
Okay, just regular old
sugar. You can dust it with icing sugar.
Lovely.
Did you smell something cooking?
Yeah,
donuts are being fried.
Fritelle. You know anything fried?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, ricotta, sultanas.
When we return, it will be time to pull up a seat at the Italian table. Welcome back to the Cook-Off's Easy Entertaining, and one for nonnas everywhere. It is our tribute to the wonders of the Italian table. Giovanni Pilu and Julia Busatil Nishimura are almost ready with their food. Julia, are you nearly done?
I'm ready.
Amazing. And Giovanni, this is just looking spectacular.
Adam, I think we're ready.
I think so too.
Right, just a little bit of rosemary to finish it off. Like we talked about, the pork doesn't need a lot.
Yes.
Because you got the lovely crispy skin that has been, remember, was covered in salt, so salt is not a problem. It's there, and flavour, and that's it.
You got the cleaver going on the board there, because otherwise my hand would be going in there and grabbing pieces off it. This looks amazing. Wow.
Smells pretty good.
I do like the Italian way of covering stuff in sugar, like actual sugar rather than icing sugar. Like we do a lot of icing sugar dusting, but there's something nice about this.
And you could do icing sugar if you want, but there is something really lovely about the caster sugar. It's kind of a little bit messy and just adds a bit of texture as well.
Beautiful. Porcetto rosto con pinzimonio and apple and ricotta frittelle. Guazzetto you could obviously do with anything, mussels, other seafood.
It's really good.
So tasty. Oh, yeah.
Need the bread for it, I think.
I love the lemon, so fresh.
Yeah, beautiful.
And above all, I think we've kept it pretty simple. And the results, Giovanni, this just looks spectacular.
The skin is just insane.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
That is one of the best things I've ever eaten. Wow.
Oh. And pork, it doesn't need much. It's got so much flavour, so sauces, jus, this, that.
And even just the pinzimonio, the lovely fresh vegetables, beautiful contrast with them.
This is it. And you have this in the middle. Cleans the palate, refreshes it, and then you go again. It's a kind of,
Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
All right, Julia. Straight into dessert. Oh, wow.
What a dream. This is not happening here.
It feels like a real celebration.
No.
It really does have that kind of Christmas cakey type vibe to it, with the citrus and the sultanas and the masala.
And cooked to perfection, Julia. Good job.
Grazie.
Very, very good.
A wonderful feast.
Oh, man.
Giovanni and Julia, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for sharing the Italian table.
Thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Adam. Thank you so much.
Well, as they say, at the Italian table, no one ever grows old. Words to live by. If you want more of the Cook Up and more delicious food ideas, head to SBS On Demand. I'm Adam Liaw. Thank you for watching the Cook Up.